All right, throwing off the hump. So I'm going to make, let's see here. I'm gonna make mug lids to start. And I'll use my calipers. Those wooden ones are kind of friendly. And all of my drinking cups have basically the same exact diameter. And let's just see what that is. I'm going for the inside diameter. It's 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2 3/4. And that is 2 7/8. So let's say 2 7/8 as an average, because I picked 3 random cups. But I know that they're all about this big, and I can pretty much make a range that is, let's say, 2 7, not measured on this, no, Amy, measured on a regular ruler, 2 7/8. Two 7/8. Okay. It's just spinning there. Let me have a backup caliper. So I'll put this one here. And I'll have this one too. I could also kind of create a separate gauge that was something like a piece of paper that just had that dimension that I could just hold there. So I don't really like using calipers too much, so what I'll do is I'll make a few, and then I will, my eyes will just know what that size is, and I'll make a variety, because it's okay to have a variety. Not all my mugs are exactly the same. I don't measure them that way. I don't throw that way. Okay, so mug lids first. Let's just make a few of those. With this big burly piece of clay, I think that this little technique of slapping it into some kind of form is worth it. Kind of satisfying sound. I did that in the Mundo Bang workshop, and I'd never done it before. I've seen people do it. I'm like, why are they doing that? But it does kind of get it. They say that it gets it kind of conditioned. Like, I don't know. This is not wedged in the first place. So they said, like, you know, the outside gets drier than the inside when you wedge it. So you have to even it back out. But I don't fully understand that. So this is just the hump, so I don't have to center this perfectly, but I do like to get it kind of part way there, at least, for my future self, my near future self. I like my hat. Okay. Feeling my neck as I do this. Feeling my neck and feeling my neck. When I have that little dip, I just kind of keep a finger in it, or near it, so I'm not making it any worse, but I'm kind of compressing that clay and eventually bringing it in so there is no dip. Okay. This is really coming up high. I'm gonna have to raise my seat up, I think. It's quite a hump. So let's see about this angle. Looks okay. All right, I guess I'm making a couple pots here. This is probably about 8 or 9 pounds. Okay, so just like always, we're gonna section off a little bit. I think I'll need a little bit more than that, so I'm just gonna go down and get a little bit more just by going down into my base. Okay, so let's go ahead and, so we've got our floor here. Gonna drop the hole, open it out just a little bit, not going far here, just a little bit. I'm gonna cut the flange, and they go, oopsie. There's so many different ways to do this, different styles. I want to keep this piece, if we call that the rim, it's kind of a rim, keep it thick and also nice and wide. So then we have this universal thing where it has a range of the mugs that it will fit. Then I'm going to go back to the inside and do a pull, laying it out flatter and bringing it out to that, whatever we said, 2 7/8 inch measurement. Let's see if we're close. Yep, that's it. So then we use the footer for the knob, just like we did for mug lids, and the broccoli rubber band for this part and this part. And we're gonna try to get a nice flat cut with our hump tool. So the hump tool has two purposes on this one, which is cutting the flange and cutting the cut off the hump. Okay. Let's see. And then I'll wind up stamping that lid. And that's it. I'm only gonna make a couple of those. Let me just make like 2 more. Drop the hole, open it out, flat with a little curve because that lid is gonna have a little curve. And then here, look, if you don't have that tool, you can just use your fingers to make the flange and separate out the rim. Oh, I just moved that. Let's try this one. Looks good. As long as it clears it, it's good. And also it's not to the top of this, it's to this part here. So, like I said, there's a range of mugs. I feel like if I can make plenty of lids and plenty of mugs, I always find ones that fit. One day maybe I'll be more anal about this process, but not right now. But if you just had like one mug or a series of mugs and you knew exactly what it was, what you might want to do is, so I have this set with this calipers, I might open it up, this one, to that same width, if this caliper would stick there. If it would stay, would be nice. Sometimes getting a little clay in there will help it. If the clay will dry on the hinge there, it'll help. But then I can set it down here and make sure it fits here because that's the part that really needs to fit. Okay, are we done? Yeah. Did I broccoli rubber band? It looks like it. Okay. So that's just to show you don't need the tool, you can just do it with your fingers. It's faster. It's about the same. Okay, last one, kind of like throwing a wide, shallow bowl with a thick rim, separating the flange. And what I'm gonna do for these, and this is what I used to do long ago, is get rubber, kind of food grade rubber gaskets. To put inside on the flange. So the flange has to be deep enough that it would fit a gasket. And if you're gonna do that, you might wanna get the gaskets first. I'm just gonna make these, and then if they don't fit, I'll just buy the gaskets and make more mug lids. Like I said, I'm only making 3. So the gaskets give you a really nice fit, but you have to allow for a little bit of room. So your lids, the flange has to be a little bit more narrow to give a little space for the gasket. Okay, now let's make some jewelry bowls. Jewelry bowls. So I need a little more clay for these. Okay, I need the top to be mounded. I want the middle to be the highest part, ideally. This one doesn't really look like it, but it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, I haven't made these in a long time, so this is me remembering how to make them. So I think what we do is we start with this. I'm going to create a little ridge there, and with some water in my finger, I'm going to push straight down. Let me go ahead and, because the center is not mounded here, I need to kind of remound it. So there we go. Okay. So now I'm going to send my finger almost straight down at a slight angle towards the inside, and I'm kind of pushing with, whoopsie, with some force. This is the same way I make teapot lids, so stash that in your memory bank for later. It actually looks a lot more like a teapot lid than a jewelry bowl. This one is too wide because this has to be small enough that rings can go on it. So now I'm gonna finagle with it and see if I can thin it out without ripping it off. Because it can get very twisty at the bottom here. Okay, so this is just the first pancake. Don't pay attention because this is not a good one. This is not what I wanted to teach you. Pause. If I had more hands, I would pause. Okay. Just relearning how to do this. Okay. The further down I go, the higher up this spike will go. And basically, I want to think about this right now being about the size of my finger, because I have small fingers, so if it fits my finger, it'll shrink a little bit from here. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to pull the bowl. Get a little bit of water. No sponge. Just wet hands. Okay. And here we go. And then one more pull, and these are kind of nice when they're a little spacious inside. It just totally depends on if they're gonna be for long earrings or short earrings, basically. If it's more of a bowl and a little bit bigger like this, then they're great for longer earrings. But if you only have short earrings, then you don't need it to be so deep or wide. But these really show off jewelry in a nice way. Okay, so I'm gonna take the water out from there. This is a little bit bigger than what I usually make. Finish the rim. Use my footer. I actually need a bunch of these, so that's what most of this hump is gonna go to. And then let's find the back pins and let's see what I'm gonna do. I like to make 4 little, I like these to have angles on the 4s, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but I just think it gives it a nice shape. So I just kind of squeezed around my finger there. Sometimes I pinch. This has kind of a thin rim, so I didn't want to pinch it any. So that's a jewelry bowl. Let's see if we can make them a little bit better, a little bit faster. Okay, so we've got our little ball. I think that's like tangerine. Okay, let's see if we can get the middle to come up. That will help. Yeah, see how it comes up to a nice mound? That's ideal. Now, let's see if we can get it to the shape, the width of my finger and go straight down. Let me get a little water. You see, well, now I'm gonna touch this, but generally I prefer to not touch that at all and just let it go up. The taller that is, the more rings you can stack. So for these, rings go on the spire and earrings go on the outside. And then you can put things like hair bands around it if you want, or, I mean, they can be for so many different things. A larger version of these would be nice for scrunchies. You can put post earrings on the inside in the little bowl part. So they're really nice to have them all set up in your booth, you know, to have one set up with jewelry. Just, you might have to keep an eye on it because people steal jewelry more than they steal pottery. Okay, so don't put your favorite jewelry, or maybe ask another jeweler if they want you to display their jewelry. Okay, this is Naranja clay. Not the friendliest throwing body in the world. Not as good as some of the others. One more pull. But I have a lot of it, so I've got to use it up. Take out the water. Fix the shape. Again, that's aesthetic. And give it a foot. Oh my gosh, I haven't made these in so long. I love these. I sell a lot of these, a lot of jewelry bowls. This is a really good gift. Okay, so let's see. What are we gonna do? Here's the bat pin. The bat pin. And I think I did it a little different last time, but it's basically the same thing. I'm lifting it up with 2 fingers and pushing down with the other. Is that the same thing I did last time? I don't remember. I just like how this kind of does a gentle fluting. It's just, I don't know, they just kind of, to me, they look a lot nicer than if they're just round. Makes a big difference. It's worth the extra 30 seconds. Okay, there was one other thing I wanted to teach. Oh, small bottles. Okay, let's do 3 of these. We'll do 3 of each. I always, when I have customers in my booth, I ask if it's for them. And if it is, I ask if they have a ring on their finger, and I have them test it right there, because some do come out a little bit thicker and you don't want to send somebody home and have them all excited and then not be able to put their rings on it. So I tell them to like take their ring off, or if it's a gift, I'm like, is it a smaller person than you, or, you know, how big are their hands? Okay, so getting this going, get a little channel, get a little water, and then straight down. Keep an eye on the shape, and you can just gently touch it here if it's starting to get a little wonky. Just touch it to stabilize it. I used to use my magic rib on this, but here I'm just using my fingers, and that feels like enough. As soon as you start using tools, kind of like, whoa, oh, I forgot to do this part. So I really do like using the magic rib for this, where I just make a little spiral in the top. That's not the best one in the world, but okay. Here, let's do this one with a sponge, because this clay has been sticking. So normally when I work off the hump, I don't really, use sponges much, but it's just nice to have your water right there if you need it. Okay, opening it up. These just make me happy. These are great in between bowls, serving bowls. Great. Great compliment. So luckily I have a lot of serving bowls. Also, well, we'll get there soon, but French butter dishes are another great compliment to serving bowls. Okay. I need a little more clay for this foot, so I'm pulled my floor down a little bit. And yeah, I'm just not leaving these thick enough that I want to pinch them. So I'm just doing this today. Okay. And then mini bottles, those are fun. Okay, so just kind of an arbitrary amount of clay off the top, just a little bit. And just like a regular bottle. And some people can be very precision oriented with this kind of thing and like make very, very fine pots. Mine never come out like super fancy or anything. I would like to get a little bit more what's the word, refined with my small pots, like tiny pots, because when they're really nice, they're so nice. Oh, I just thought of another pot I'd like to show you, which is called a daisy pot, and they're actually for children to give to their parents, usually moms. I'm just gonna fold that over. You see how thin that rim got? If you just fold a thin rim over like that, you can get it back. Okay, so, you know, you can come up with all different kinds of shapes for this. It's great for practicing different bottle forms. Way less investment. And this might be too big for this double foot, might just be a little too big for this shape. It's funny to use the same footer for a humongous pitcher and then a teeny little hump piece, but that's what I got in my hands, so that's what this pot gets. Okay. Often these look so cute when they're on the hump, and then you take it off and you're like, oh, that's kind of clunky. But I'll just make 3 of those, maybe a little variety, and that'll be enough for this video. But it's all the same pieces. You notice I didn't like go into finishing the bottom of this before I closed it up. I just went ahead and closed it up, and you do want to take if there's water in the bottom, you do want to take it out. Okay. That one's thin, but I can compress it. The other one was kind of thin and a little warped. Let's get in there. Pushing, I'm really pushing towards the middle with my fingertip. One hand colors, one hand pulls. I can use my fingernail to do some of what the magic rib would do. Oh, I forgot to show you guys this trick with bottles. How you can get a little lift at the end. This is part of the magic. You can get a little lift at the end from the bottom. So I'll take my hard metal rib for that and put a finger inside, and I'm just going to cut into the bottom and make it a little bit more narrow. And that will give you, that's a really nice thing to do sometimes at the end of working on a bottle, is just bring the base in a little bit and it'll just kind of help your bottle float. Okay, and this one I'll just give a little angle instead of using that large pot footer. I'll just cut it down there and there. I think they're cuter in real life than they are on the video. Last one. These are so small, I'm not starting with like the wide base and bringing it in the way that I would do a normal cylinder. I'm just kind of more just throwing the shape as is. There's so little to it. You don't need those extra tricks to manipulate the raising of the clay. Pushing in from the bottom. Holding the rim so I can get down in there. I just stuck my whole big sponge in there. That's magic. Do a slightly different bottle form. Don't have to flare the neck out. Here's one that has a little wobbly rim. I can compress it, but it's gonna be nicer if I cut it. Just go right underneath. You don't want to cut a ton off when you do use your pin tool. Just go right underneath the part that needs to be cut. Cut minimal. Carefully using the magic rib, deciding where my neck is going to start. And then I'll pull it up a little bit more from there. You can mess with these forever. I tend to make just a lot of little ones and not worry too much about always getting the exact shape I want. But if you have one in front of you that's the one that you like, you know, if I were to make these and I would have fallen in love with this one, let's say, I would put it in a special place and have it be my sample for the rest of them. Okay, friends, have fun.